I want to continue developing this idea of the seats that they won. The election result was an historic win for the Prime Minister. It was the Conservative Party's biggest victory since Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister in '87. I remember that election well. For Labour, it was a stunning loss. Its worst general election performance since 1935. You've got to look at seats like Lee and Blythe Valley. Across the north of England, the seats went from Labour to Conservative for the first time ever. Boris Johnson's now pushing this concept of a new one-nation Conservative Party, because if you look at the map today, they have seats right the way through, except to Scotland. Have a listen.
It does look as though this one-nation Conservative government has been given a powerful new mandate. We must recognise the incredible reality that we now speak as a one-nation Conservative Party, literally for everyone from Woking to Workington. We in this one-nation Conservative government will never ignore your good and positive feelings of warmth and sympathy towards the other nations of Europe.
The phrase originated with Benjamin Disraeli, who was Prime Minister in the 1870s. It's basically an idea that the rich help the poor and that the whole country needs both. Paddy O'Connell is a British broadcaster and columnist. He joins me now. Every Tory leader says one nation Tory, one nation conservatism. But the difference here with Boris Johnson is he now actually has seats in a part of the country where they are traditionally Labour.
The Q behind your head means quake. This is an earthquake, Richard. It's a landmark election. I don't mean to be trivial when I say everything in British needs to be translated for your viewers. One nation doesn't mean anything. One nation means at least two things. Firstly, what it says on the tin, nation. We aren't one nation. We are the Scots, the Welsh, the English, and the Irish who identify as Irish, and the British who identify as British living in Ireland. So, first of all, we've got the national question. But then there's the economy, which you live and breathe, the rich and the poor. Now, this is a play to say, if you're poor and you voted for us, who's seen as looking after the rich, you can trust us. We're going to build the state. We're going to look after you.
Well, he said last night, Boris Johnson, in his statement, the short one that he made, you know, he said, if you've lent us your vote...
That's correct.
Because normally you talk about, I've given you my vote. If you've lent us your vote, intending to go back...
Yes, you're right, because this is like a Rust Belt steel worker who votes for Trump saying, oh, I'm going to try Hillary Clinton. I mean, try and tell your viewer around the world, as you have done, these are seats which have never returned a Conservative Member of Parliament ever in the history of the democracy.
So, can we legitimately say that this election last night does legitimise Johnson's claim that the UK can leave the EU?
In England. And it will. By the January the 31st, the UK will now leave the EU because of the way our parliament works. But morally, the Scots, there are 59 seats in Scotland and a passion for national identity. 48 of those seats went to the Scottish National Party, right. Richard, and that was your question to me. What does one nation mean?
But can Nicola Sturgeon have her referendum if Boris Johnson, who runs the national government, won't allow it?
Under the Scotland Act, no. It's the Westminster government that has the power to call the election, the referendum. And he's saying no, she's saying, get out of my way, Blondie. I mean, it's not saying that, of course, but I'm being metaphorical.
Right. You have studied both. You have studied both sides of the Atlantic in terms of election. You've covered many US elections too. Paddy, do you see any... Donald Trump is going to try and make nice with Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson is going to have a certain arm's length because he doesn't want to be tinged with the worst excesses of Trump. But he needs Donald Trump.
Both those countries are fractured, fissured and fed up. In Britain, people are absolutely exhausted. He said 5 weeks. It's been 3 years. It's been 36 months of the people arguing. Families break up about this European question. There is 12 months ahead to do a deal with Europe. 12 months.
But Trump today said that the deal with the US that he could do would dwarf...
With the UK?
With the UK, would dwarf anything that the UK would do with the EU.
He has said that. He has said that. And that is going to come down to the line-by-line detail. You know, because you covered it. When the Canadians tried to do a deal with the EU, the woman who was the trade ambassador wept in front of the cameras and got back on the plane. It took 9 years. I mean, we are talking about the most serious line-by-line details. What do they want from us, the UK? What are we going to give them? What markets have we got? How are we going to balance the 380 million people in one trading bloc with nearly the same numbers in the other? That's British politics for the next 12 months after the queue for Quake we've just been through.
So, finally, I want to... Is this nation tonight or tomorrow more at ease than it was? I was coming here today on the tube. I was looking at everybody. There's always a look in any country after an election as if you've just been through a nasty hangover.
Yes.
But do you get the feeling that the country is just a little bit more... that's over?
I want to say that I know people in my life who passionately believe different political things. We are a parliamentary democracy, and Parliament has been bumper to bumper, gridlock like you get in New York with your show. This is a thumping parliamentary majority for Boris Johnson. Our system, since the Civil War, has been working on parliamentary majorities or not. And therefore, what you have is progress, but I don't think you've yet got peace between the warring factions of our country.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you.